All right, we are live here in swampy Gainesville, Florida, right outside Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. We're tailgating. I am Alex Donno from Locked On Canes. He is Brandon Olsen from Locked On Gators, and the excitement is going to hit a crescendo here pretty soon as we're heading towards a 3:30 p.m. kickoff. What used to be way back in the day an annual rivalry between the Miami Hurricanes and the Florida Gators is now more of a sporadic thing. In fact, Brandon, this is the first time these teams have faced off since 2019, different coaches, different rosters, but we're finally ready to do the darn thing again after 5 years.
Yeah, I'm excited. I hope that this becomes a more regular series. It's been a lot of fun just talking trash to fans, talking trash to you. I'm excited for it. I'm looking forward to it. I do hope that it becomes more regular. There's just, I don't know, the atmosphere here is just different when we're talking about actually getting into this game, and I'm excited, man. It's just, and then it's, I don't know if y'all can see behind us, but it's full.
Yeah,
like
it is.
And we're in the
and this is one of like probably 30 different tailgating areas.
Yeah, we're and this is one of the less common tailgating areas, and it's just crowded everywhere. On both sides too.
Yeah, and I was going to say that as well, and obviously, of course, Brandon is here with all his Gator people who have been somewhat nice to me. I will say I haven't gotten any fist fights yet. Heading up to the game,
they might be waiting for the live show to swing at you.
They're waiting for the live show, but and obviously, you know, we're in Gainesville, we're in enemy territory, so of course, a lot of Gator fans here. But I have been really impressed. I arrived in Gainesville yesterday afternoon, and the Miami fans have shown up really strong here. Had a couple of parties, had a smaller VIP party first at V Pizza, had a much bigger party at Capone's in downtown Gainesville, and there were a lot of Miami fans there walking down the streets of Gainesville. Got a lot of wearing all my Miami gear yesterday. I had some friendly people out there, so I think this is going to be really good, and it's nice to even see some tailgates here, Brandon, that are like mixed company, some Miami fans and Gator fans at the same tailgates. This is like a message for world peace that we're sending out here in Gainesville.
This is like that meme of like when the Bloods and Crips are holding up the flag together. Just that tailgate right there is exactly that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So as we head into this one, so much has been made in the pregame buildup. I think everyone's just ready to actually see what these teams look like when they take the field. Like, what are some of the unanswered questions about Florida that you would like to see answered when you see the Gators offense take the field for the first time, the Florida defense take the field for the first time? What are you going to be looking at out there, Brandon?
Yeah, for the Florida offense, I'm just going to be looking at tendency breakers is one thing I want to see. Last year was basically if they came out in pistol, they were almost guaranteed to run the ball. If they came out in the gun, they were almost guaranteed to throw the ball.
Yeah.
A tendency breaker like that, which I do think that we'll see. In my opinion, I think that Russ Callaway is going to be calling the plays for the Florida Gators. That's my expectation there. It's not a guaranteed thing. It's just what I would expect from Billy Napier here. Promoted Russ Callaway to co-offensive coordinator this past offseason. And as far as tendency breakers go, I don't think you can get a better tendency breaker than a new guy calling plays.
Yeah.
And defensively, I want to see what it looks like from Ron Roberts now being a co-defensive coordinator here, coming in from Auburn last year, where their defense wasn't awesome, but I do think a lot of that was talent. And, I mean, Zach Blackerby, our boss, and the host of Locked On Auburn will tell you, talent was definitely an issue for the Auburn Tigers defense last year.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what that difference looks like here with Austin Armstrong, very inexperienced, 3 years as a defensive coordinator, and then now Ron Roberts coming in.
Yeah, on the Miami side, same coordinators, so you have the continuity from the staff standpoint, but the personnel is so different that it's hard for me to sit here and say that the offense, going from Tyler Van Dyke, who's so different from Cam Ward, who's now the starting quarterback at the University of Miami, I'm sure the offense is going to have a different tone. Miami is also deeper at running back than they were a year ago, adding Damian Martinez from Oregon State after his, nearly 1,200-yard season on the ground last year is obviously going to give Miami surely an emphasis to set up a power running game. But then when you also have Cam Ward throwing the football and weapons like Xavier Restrepo and Jacoby George, who everyone's really high on based on Miami practices and on what Miami's getting from Sam Brown in the transfer portal, I'm going to be interested to see what the balance of play calling is like, Brandon, because something I'm curious about is, people talk about it. I think the Gators run defense is going to be better than they were last year. I have little doubt to that.
Hard to not be better.
Right. And then, on the Miami side, obviously Mario Cristobal appreciates a power ground and pound game, but with so many weapons in the pass game, I'm wondering what Miami's approach is going to be like. If they're going to try to do what Utah did last year and go down the field from play one, or if Miami's going to try to establish the power running game first.
Yeah, I'm expecting a first play bomb from Miami. I feel like you should expect that.
Yes,
you
I
ran
agree.
Against Florida. Had that gone against Utah with a backup quarterback, and it worked last year.
Yeah.
The first game, I would at least test them on the first play, just like, hey, it worked last year. First play, they weren't ready for it. Let's try that again and see how that works. Especially because I don't care who your OC is. If Mario Cristobal is your head coach, I'm expecting you to try to run the ball a bit. All offensive line oriented coaches, I expect them to try to run the ball a bit, and so I'm looking forward to that. I'm excited to see, or curious to see, what Miami's passing attack will look like. If we're going to see a lot of just 11 personnel with that trio of Restrepo, George, and Sam Brown.
I expect yes.
Yeah. I'd expect a lot of 11 personnel. I was a fan of Sam Brown when he hit the portal. I said I wanted Florida to go after him. They didn't even attempt to my knowledge. But I wanted Florida to go after him. My only thing with Sam Brown is that when Miami fans are going, they're returning 3 800-yard receivers. You're not really returning them. They are returning to college, but they are not returning to Miami. I want to make that one clear. Sam Brown had 800 as the leading option with Houston. And I'm excited to see what that passing attack looks like.
Yeah.
If I'm Miami, I'm going out and attacking just the secondary. I'm going to improve it. I do have much higher expectations for the run defense for the Florida Gators, just because I think your defensive line play is better. But also last year, I think linebacker play outside of Shamar James was so bad that I think now with Pup Howard coming in, who I am very high on, looking at the freshman who I'm not expecting much from him week one. I refuse to do that with freshman linebackers or linemen offensively. I don't expect much from them, but I think the Florida Gators run defense will be a lot better. And I see Robert Turner asking where on campus. We're right outside Wrights Union, right between Wrights Union and the communications building. If anybody wants to come over here, we're here. We got a tent. It's just titled Gator Spaces.
So what is the humidity going to be a factor today, Brandon?
It's going to
be a factor for the fans.
It's a factor for me.
Right? Because these players, obviously practicing in Gainesville for the Gators, practicing in Coral Gables for Miami.
Yeah, no,
I think the players will be all right. I'm worried about all the fans here.
Like they wanted a whiteout. They're getting a wet T-shirt contest over here. That's all you're going to get at the University of Florida right now, because it is hot out here. And it ain't even peaked yet. We're still 4 hours from the peak.
A little bit on the Gators, offense. Like first and foremost, you mentioned, Sam Brown, who transferred into Miami. That maybe you'd wish that Florida took a look at him. Florida got Elijah Badger in the portal, which was someone like before Miami really ended up zoning in on Sam Brown. There was a little chatter about Badger. That was another really sought after receiver who ends up picking Florida. Talk a little bit about him, but also, with Florida, with Miami, I'm going into this kind of wondering, what is a Cam Ward-led Miami offense going to look like? You guys get the continuity second year with Graham Mertz at quarterback, and oftentimes you see when quarterbacks transfer into a school when they have multiple years of eligibility left, usually they really hit their stride in the second year.
Yeah, we've seen year two work out for a lot of transfer portal quarterbacks. Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Jaden Daniels won the Heisman in his second year. Cam Ward got considerably better in his second year at Washington State. Second-year quarterbacks out of the portal, especially ones that are previously experienced, tend to take that big jump. And I think that we see something similar from Graham Mertz here. I think we see more yards, more touchdowns, more interceptions as well, because I do think that he's just going to throw more aggressively.
Yeah, more shots downfield.
I absolutely expect that, especially with what should be improved offensive line play. So I expect to see that from the Florida offense with Graham Mertz. Very excited for Elijah Badger's addition. I think his skill set fits Florida perfectly. He did a lot of damage on screens and deep balls, just straight up for Arizona State. Part of that was their quarterback couldn't do much. Whichever quarterback it was, they had 3 play significantly last year. But I am expecting Elijah Badger to be a significant contributor. Week one is interesting because this isn't an easy offense to learn for receivers. No. It's not. I know that a lot of people talk about Florida's offense and they want to insult it. It's not an easy offense to learn, so I'm curious to see what he's going to do in game one. But I'm looking forward to just seeing Elijah Badger's contribution. And Graham Mertz in year two for me, that's such a huge thing. I've said before, I think one of the biggest differences is Graham Mertz in year two versus Cam Ward in game one.
Right.
I think that's a big difference. I've said, if this game's week 8, I have a much different feeling about it.
Yeah, and it's something like for me on the Miami side, you don't really know until you know. But if I think about the approach that Cam Ward has taken since he arrived at Miami. I'm cautiously optimistic that he can hit the ground running at the U. Familiar with the offensive principles at Miami under offensive coordinator Shannon Dawson from Cam Ward's time at Washington State. Ward has worked incredibly hard. Like he's approached his limited time so far at Miami. He arrived in January. He's approached it like a true professional with the work that he's put in the film room, with the work that he's put in doing private workouts with his receivers. Because as we know, college athletes are only allowed to actually get together so many hours per week for official functions. So, Ward, outside of football, I think the only hobby he has is fishing. He spends a lot of time working with his receivers and offensive weapons. So I feel like he can hit the ground running at Miami. But again, it's one of those things where it's been a long off season. Miami is going to be, even though there's a lot of Miami fans here, there's a lot more Florida fans here. It's going to be a hostile environment. Seeing how the offense can come together, how quickly it can come together for Miami. I want to talk about the defenses a little bit more when we come back. And also if we can identify areas where we feel especially good about on the Miami side and Florida side, and any areas that are maybe more concerning than others, and we can make some predictions out here. And again, Brandon said this earlier, for those who are asking where we are, if you're watching us live and you're somewhere on campus now at the University of Florida, we are by the Wrights Union. You'll see if you go out here, there's a big grassy area with a whole bunch of tailgating tents set up. If you walk around long enough, you'll find those glorious flowing blonde locks of Brandon Olsen, and you guys will see us. You want to keep it locked right here. We are broadcasting live from the swamp in Gainesville with the Miami Hurricanes set to take on the Florida Gators. You want to keep it locked right here on this live stream. And folks, I do want to mention something, Brandon. I was looking at our great sponsor, Game Time, and they have got, if you go to the Game Time app, I was looking at $166 tickets last minute to get into the swamp. $166 tickets. Like if you were looking at this a week ago, not buying last minute, you were looking at the 300 plus range, right? So you can look at $166 tickets to get in here, courtesy of Game Time. You take the guesswork out of buying tickets on the Game Time app. You just sign into the app, create a code, and if you use our promo code, which is Locked On College, you can get $20 off your first order. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. What time is it? It is game time, and it is.
Not care that we were just recording the show.
Yeah, what was that?
I'm trying. The power's not working. For
yeah.
TVs.
Oh, it's not. Oh, I hope the power's working for ourselves. Oh, the power's not working for my computer either. So we're still online as far as I can tell. Oh man. So, Brandon, I'll start for Miami. What I think the strongest position group is going to be. On paper, I want to say on paper because I don't want to be like one of those FSU guys who talked before their trip out to Ireland. Florida State's got the best defensive line in the country. Produced 0 sacks last week in Dublin, so I don't want to be that guy. But I will say, and I've been out to practices, I've had a chance to talk to some of these players, talk to coaches about them. I think the strength of Miami's team is going to be the defensive line, specifically the edge rusher rotation. It really starts with Ruben Hurricane Bain, who I'm sure is going to be getting a lot of extra attention today and hopefully can open things up for teammates. Probably the guy, there's a few different names, Brandon, that people talk about in the Miami pass rush. I know Florida fans feel a certain way about Tyler Barron, who...
It's not that I feel a certain way. It's just I've seen him play Florida multiple years in a row, and he's never been productive. Why do I care all of a sudden?
No, I hear you. But
he rushed opposite James Pierce last year, so it's not like he's never played with another really good edge rusher on the other side.
Well, he's going to be playing with multiple good edge rushers this time around because I think the guy outside of Bain, who's been one of the biggest stories in practices for Miami, has been Akeem Mesidor, who was the team's leader in sacks 2 seasons ago, was not healthy last year, so was not a factor on the Hurricanes. He is healthy now. He's one of the guys who's been bringing in headlines from camp. Elijah Alston is a transfer Miami brought in from Marshall, who's doing really well. Malik Bryant is a former linebacker that Miami has moved onto the defensive line, who's getting good reviews. Miami's got some young players who I don't know how much we're going to see them today in the edge rotation, but Cole McConaughey, a true freshman, has done well in camp, and so is Marquise Lightfoot, is someone that maybe we'll see a little bit more down the road than we'll see today. Simeon Barrow in the interior was a big-time transfer from Michigan State. C.J. Clark, a transfer from NC State, are the guys that I probably expect to be the starters there. Miami also has some some young guys there like Ahmad Moten, Armando Blunt, who could factor into the people keep accidentally video. You're good. Don't worry about it. We're getting the atmosphere.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, we're on the Locked On Network right now. Gotta love the cameo. So Miami's defensive line is the area that looks like they're set up to create a lot of havoc this year and maybe create a lot of havoc today. For Florida, what would you say? Which unit is the biggest strength?
I am optimistic about. I don't know how to describe the middle of the defense. The defensive tackles, the linebackers, and the safeties. I'm very confident in. Cornerback is going to be interesting. Jason Marshall Jr. had a horrible season last year. The year prior wasn't as good either. But it's also one of those things where, you've got a new secondary. The yak is behind us. They're jumping. But you also had the new secondary coach, Will Harris, has put an added emphasis on improving this Florida Gators secondary. That was bad last year. Asa Turner coming in from Washington, player I'm very optimistic for. I think he brought in a lot of experience and depth in the safety room as well. Jordan Castell starting at one side. Asa Turner will be starting from Washington, but then you've also got DJ Douglas coming in, Triquez Bridges from Oregon, who played in a very similar defense systematically. Linebackers significantly improved. Shamar James, when he was healthy, one of the best linebackers in the SEC last year. Pup Howard, true freshman contributor for South Carolina, should be coming in with significantly higher expectations than we had from Scooby Williams, who I know that a lot of people knock Scooby Williams for not being good. I think that speaks to how bad Florida Gators linebacker room was last year, that Scooby Williams was bad, went to Texas A&M with his linebacker coach from Florida, Jay Bateman, and he's third on the depth chart at Texas A&M. I think that's a significant indicator of how bad the linebacker room was last year. And then, of course, on the interior of the defensive line, you got Cam Jackson, Joey Slackman, Caleb Banks, high expectations for all of those players. I do think that that's going to be a big indicator of this run defense being improved. It's just experience and talent on the interior. That's what I'm most confident in for the Florida Gators. I think run defense significantly better.
Well, let's talk about least confident, and I want to emphasize this, that I feel really good about Miami's talent and depth of talent at just about every position group, and I'm not sitting here and saying that this is a we. I see the faces you're making back there. I stand by it. I stand on business. Now, I'm not saying that this area is necessarily a weakness, but it's definitely a question mark when you've got 4 out of 5 new starters in your defensive backfield, including the nickel. And most of them have not earned significant playing time yet for the Miami Hurricanes or anywhere. Now, you did bring in a transfer, Mish Powell from Washington, who had significant playing time with the Huskies, started every game with the national runners-up from last year. He seems to have brought some good leadership and has played well in practice. Daryl Porter is the proven commodity at Miami's cornerback room. But then outside of that, Miami is going to be having a number of players who are going to see the field later today and throughout the season who have not had the opportunity to prove it yet on the field. Damari Brown did get some PT last year and actually did pretty well in Miami's close loss against Florida State last season, but not a whole lot of experience. Miami brought in a transfer from Marshall, Deani Hill, who it helps that he knows Miami's cornerbacks coach and defensive coordinator very well for that transition. Jadis Richard is someone who is probably going to step up into a bigger role this year. Robert Stafford, same thing. These are the corners. At safety, Markeith Williams, who hasn't played a lot, had a very good camp, led Miami in interceptions during fall camp. Jaden Harris doing pretty well. He's been the Cam Kinchin's understudy the last couple of years. The young guy, Zaquan Patterson, we'll see what kind of a role he can carve out for himself. Oh, and another corner that I didn't mention, and again, it can be a good or a bad thing when true freshmen get playing time, but O.J. Frederic, first season at Miami out of St. Thomas Aquinas, has been doing really well in camp. So it's a group, Brandon, that you can't call it a concern until you see it on the field, but it's definitely a question mark when outside of Daryl Porter at Miami and Mish Powell with the experience he got at Washington, you've got a very inexperienced group of defensive backs. Do you think Florida is going to try to test that group early and often?
I think you have to. I think you have to look at just, again, even if you feel confident in all of these new players, there's a lot of new players there. Yeah. There's a lot of players stepping into larger roles, even if they were there last year. You got to test them. You have to. And I understand that for a lot of Miami fans, I say you test the secondary, and Miami fans' rebuttal is, well, good luck getting it off with the pass rush. Josh Gardner asking if my water bottle is large enough. No, it's not. There's
You
no
got what we
amount
got?
of
Like a
water.
gallon jug over
It's
there?
a gallon jug. Yeah, there's a gallon jug. There's
There
no
it is.
amount of water large enough for this. But by the way, we are at Wrights Union. I saw someone ask again. In between Wrights Union and the communications building is where we are located right now. The Gator Spaces tent, which, by the way, thank you, Eddie, for setting this up. Very much appreciated. This was his idea, by the way, to do this here.
That's awesome.
Very much appreciated. Couldn't make us, but we appreciate him. But I do think that you have to test the secondary. I think you've got a really good receiver room for the Florida Gators, really fast receiver room, one of the fastest receiver rooms in the country, I believe, just with Aiden Mizell, Tank Hawkins, who will not be available in my expectation. Trey Wilson there. Elijah Badger's got good speed, especially for a bigger receiver on the outside. Very excited to see what that looks like. I think you have to test it. And as far as the pass rush, a lot of not proven pass rushers on that team. CJ Clark was unproductive. Simeon Barrow, more of a pure nose tackle than he's been.
I think my guy Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack would argue against the idea that CJ Clark was unproductive. He was very productive at NC State.
He had, one sack last year?
Well, playing in the interior. Miami's got guys in waves coming from the edge.
Yeah, that's fine.
Kiko Mauinoa at linebacker, 7.5 sacks last year.
That's one thing I would look at, especially with Lance Guidry liking to blitz Kiko Mauigoa. I'm keeping Hayden Hansen tight end in the pass block, whatever side Ruben Bain's on. I've said that. I said you could look at last year when I think it was the Steelers played against the Browns. Myles Garrett kept switching sides, and a tight end just followed him wherever he went. I would do the same thing with Hayden Hansen and Ruben Bain, not having pass pro. And as for Kiko Mauigoa, I would tell whichever running back's in there, hey, just look at Kiko. If he's blitzing, you're in pass pro. If he's not, leak out. And that would be my approach as far as handling the pass rush, keeping in 6 to block, 7 sometimes. But give yourself time to test that secondary because we haven't seen them. So they're unproven. Give yourself as much time as possible. I don't care if you got 8 back there blocking and you got 2 running routes. Just test that secondary and make them prove that they're capable of handling you.
By the way, for the guy who's asking me if I'm afraid to wear Canes gear, now I did try to dress like somewhat neutral and professional because I've got a press pass today. But I do have. Can I get my shoe? Yeah, there you go. I do have the Miami shoe on.
The
so
contortionist.
Yeah, very flexible. So, and you were talking about the offensive line for Florida and how you would approach the pass protection. Is offensive line, because when we spoke about this a couple weeks ago, is that still your biggest concern?
It's going to be my biggest concern until they prove to be better.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's not even me saying that I think they're going to be bad. I'm very optimistic for a lot of the players on the line. Jake Slaughter at center was one of the best centers in college football last year. And this is his first offseason where he's gone through the offseason as the starter. Last year, Kingsley Agwakin got hurt 6 days before the game, and then Jake Slaughter had to step into the starting role. Austin Barber, bad last year, good the year before, was banged up last year. He's healthy. I still need to see it. It's one of those things where I understand that you could tell me, oh, he's going to be better. I still need to see you be better here. Left guard, Najee Harris, true sophomore, was one of the best true freshman contributors on the offensive line in the country last year. Right guard, Damian George is from right tackle last year. He's the biggest one where, look, I need to see it, man. It's just as simple as that. And then at right tackle, Cam Waits, big boy.
Yeah.
Big dude out there. Some massive offensive tackle for you. Came over from Louisiana with Billy Napier as a true freshman. Last year, tore his Achilles in the spring. Came back and played the final 6 games on a torn Achilles. And so it's one of those things where I kind of chalk last year for him because you tore your Achilles in the spring. You came back and played, but obviously you're not going to be 100%
not going to be the same
after a torn Achilles. So we'll see what he is this year. Surprise starter on the depth chart was Cameron Waits. So I'm excited to see what he's going to look like against Ruben Bain. I do feel that they might have put him in there specifically to handle Ruben Bain's power. And I think that might be a big approach. Cam Waits is thought of as a better pass protector than run blocker. So it wouldn't shock me if they gave him the start with kind of just, hey, you're over there. And I know that people talk about CJ Clark being a productive defensive tackle because he had a sack and a half.
He's a defensive tackle. He's got other jobs. Like producing sacks is not his primary job.
That's fine, but he wasn't productive. Simple as that.
No, you mean not productive in the specific statistic that you're okay. So you're manipulating the argument to call him non-productive because there's one stat where he only produced a sack last year.
We were talking about the pass rush.
All right, fine.
We were talking about the pass rush.
Getting worked up here.
Time. I think that's a fair argument.
Okay,
and I think there's about 25 people here that'll agree with me.
All right, so let me ask. I want to get into predictions first. Let me get the. All right, y'all hear me over there? Y'all hear me at the tailgate? All right, give me your prediction. I expect you all to say Miami, of course. Who's going to win the game today?
You can jump him once we cut the stream. I'm just saying I won't see anything. I won't say anything.
Tough crowd.
I think they're great. What'd you say? 34-10.
Oh, we got a 34-10
34-10.
prediction. Whoa.
You think Miami's gonna score 10?
Well, I said Miami's going to score 10 in the first quarter. I'll take that.
They might not score again. They might not score again after that.
Well, what about you? Brandon Olsen, Locked On Gators. What's your
24 Florida?
That's your final prediction for today?
27.
And I'm going to stick with that same score line. And, we talked about this a couple days ago on a Locked On crossover.
We're nothing if not consistent.
We're nothing. So I'm going to stick with that. But on the flip, I think Miami's going to get the 27-24 victory. I think Miami's pass rush coming in waves and Miami's ability to pound the rock and hopefully wear down the Gators defense late. I think this game is going to be close throughout. I don't think we're going to see any kind of separation, Brandon, until the fourth quarter. And that's one thing that you and I both agree on is we think this is going to be a close game. Now, I hear people on both sides predicting Miami blowouts, predicting Gator blowouts. We're expecting a close game because then another thing I'm seeing all over college football so far, the possessions are way down with the new rules and the helmet communication. So it's like, I think in a game between two Power 4 opponents, unless one team is just so careless and reckless and has bad luck committing turnovers, I think we're going to have a really close game today.
There is one quarterback in this game that has been careless and reckless and has had turnovers throughout his career.
You mean the times he's running for his life and fumbling behind a bad Washington State offensive line? Only threw 7 interceptions last year, Cam Ward. So.
Hey, I'm also saying that, he had the Caleb Williams issue where you drop 8 and he will make a mistake on his own. He did that quite a few times. And I will say this for a lot of Florida fans. They go, oh, he's a scrambling quarterback. It's really not. He scrambles around to buy time.
He's a play extender.
He scrambles around to buy time. He doesn't scramble to run. That's a big difference.
Right. He does score some rushing touchdowns in the red zone, but primarily he's a scrambler to buy time. So, so we're both going 27-24. He's going Florida 27-24. I'm going Miami 27-24. I'm sure after the game we'll compare notes, and it's gonna maybe it will be
going to be way more upset to compare notes than the other.
Do you think, by the way, no matter who loses this game, all the Seminoles fans that we were just giving a hard time to the last week on social media, I can only imagine what they have in their drafts ready for whoever loses this game.
So here's the thing with Seminoles fans: if they're smart, and that's the big if that they're not. They would wait until Monday because if you talk trash and then you lose to Boston College,
which they might. They might.
I mean, hey, Thomas Castellanos can kind of cook them. So I think you got to watch that. And if you lose to Boston, I would just be quiet. Just be quiet until that game. Because if you're losing, I'm not wearing jorts, but I am wearing blue pants. I am wearing blue.
Oh, stand up real quick. I already showed my shoes. You gotta.
They're not jorts.
They might be jorts. I'm just saying, based on what appeared on that shot, the jury is out. It might be denim.
But I am representing that here. Should we open the floor for the?
Yeah, let's open the floor.
I'm just meant to go take pictures and stuff, but we can open the floor. Tawan left. Tawan, you want to come say hi?
Come over here. Say hi.
Ask a question. Watch your mouth.
I will watch my
mouth. I heard him pick Miami. I thought I heard one person say.
No, Donno. The Gators are gonna run this thing, and you know what I'm saying? Me and Brandon is in this thing, and the crew is in this thing. So guess what? We in the swamp, baby. So y'all know what we finna do. The Gator Chomp all night, all day, all evening, what? I ain't even got nothing to say no more. Let's go.
I'm proud of you for keeping that clean. I'm very surprised you did that, Tawan. Good for you, man.
I'm actually surprised you can keep it clean because I hear the way you talk when the mics are off.
Oh my goodness. I've been telling David Locke, you got to let me just let it fly, man. I'll have some shows on a loss or a rivalry game. Let me let it fly. You want to say anything? You want to contribute at all? Come on.
Yeah, get over here.
Come on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Eric from Tampa, Florida. My boy Rob Ball, is a big U fan. So we got to get on the U so I can go back to work and say something to him. I got to say something to him.
I hope he's saying something to you on Monday.
Oh, no. He's going to say something if they – I'm not going to say if they win. I'm saying
hey,
they lose.
Come over here. We got to get
all
a Canes fan for a cameo. Hold on. Because I feel very attacked with the way it's going. So I'm here representing Miami. So I got your back.
You want to come over here and say something?
See, he don't Canes.
More than welcome to.
Listen, it may not be Cam Ward and Damian and Sam Brown, but it's going to be our defense that rolls through that O-line and gets to Graham Mertz, or I think they come out in the double package Lagway and Mertz early.
By the way, make sure you have so far, but just make sure you keep it clean.
Absolutely.
You have so far.
I will. Donno,
I want to make sure.
Also, I watch Locked On Canes every day, so I know how to keep it, but but we will come through in that double package early, and we will scare them and tackle them all. All right? We're going to get through them. Let's go, baby.
I love it. And by the way, of course,
my best friend, biggest Gators fan, too. So.
Oh,
Biggest Canes fan.
okay.
We're big fans. Big fans of Locked On Gators and Locked On Canes.
Thank you.
Happy to have you here. Welcome to the swamp.
Thank you so much.
You got it.
Wow. Now I finally feel welcome. Now that I've got you've made it official. No, you didn't.
I wish you were welcome before that, but I'm happy you feel welcome now.
I appreciate it, man. What's your prediction for today?
Oh God, I don't really know if I can give you a prediction. Obviously I hope for a win. I think these two teams match up pretty fairly. The offensive line does scare me a little bit. That would be my one question mark precaution, but other than that, I think the two teams match up very well. I know Miami has a lot of transfers, so it's whether they can gel, and if the offensive line, I think the fronts are going to determine the game.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Yeah, that would be my opinion.
Now you put the shirt on.
I know.
No, but honestly, I was actually I was
expect to see you guys.
I was going to give you a shout out though that the Miami.
I'm glad he
one
noticed
thing.
y'all.
Here's what I feel about today is that the problem is if Miami makes no mistakes, this game's easy. It's a win. But we're in the swamp.
Sure.
And that's why Gator fans' excuse is you're in the swamp. But if we
Big
keep
deal.
it together, there's no problem. We're more talented. But if the Gators can get
Debatable.
well, if we keep it together early on,
I think it's pretty fair.
the swamp may be empty by third quarter. So we got to keep it going. You know? We got to keep it going. I keep Mesidor more sacks today than anybody else.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, he knows. He
Sorry,
knows
quiet
about Mesidor.
explanation right now, but hey, just ask Joe Milton the same thing.
Okay.
Just ask Joe Milton how it went. We'll see. Hey, great seeing y'all.
Great
Y'all
seeing
have a
you
great
too.
day. Hope you enjoy the game.
Good to see you, man.
Okay.
I was about to say when he had the shirt off that he's the smartest person here because it's hot out here. Yeah, it's smart.
Out here, man.
Oh man. Well, all right. So we got our official predictions in. I was glad. And there are more Miami people here at the swamp than our interviews would indicate. So I'm glad I was able to flag one down here.
Hey, you got
So
4,000 tickets.
yeah, but I'm sure people got their tickets on Game Time, which don't
I got
necessarily.
mine.
Yeah.
I got mine on game time. Front row, section 16, row 1, seat 32.
Oh
Come find
man,
me.
yeah. So I want to send everybody a huge shout out if you're watching us live, and I want to make sure I plug the stuff that we're going to be doing after the game. So actually, for the Miami side, right after the game, going to have my guy Jim Greashopper is doing the Miami postcast Grease. So make sure you check that out. I'm going to have probably late tonight. I'm going to have a Locked On Canes post game, but Jimmy G Grease's post game is also going to be on the Locked On audio feed. Brandon, are you doing something right after the game?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out if I'm going to go. If this is still set up, I might come back here and just go live after. If not, I might go to the Airbnb. But it's probably going to be 30 minutes to an hour after the game. Is probably when I'll be able to get some content out. Got to hang out a little bit after, especially if it's a win. And if it's a loss, I need to probably just cry a little bit.
Yeah.
Get my eyes cleared up so it doesn't look like I'm crying, and then get right back onto the show.
You're right. I hope it doesn't run your eyeshadow or whatever you got going. I don't know.
Now I wear makeup. They already think enough of me with the hair. Now I wear makeup.
He's got jean shorts and he's got makeup.
There we go. Now I'm wearing makeup.
Oh man, and I will be on 560 WQAM post game as well, doing radio, and then I'll have the Locked On stuff right after that, and Grease is going to have you guys right after on. Brandon, I don't think he's wearing makeup, by the way. I don't think he is.
I'm wearing sunscreen. I'm not wearing makeup.
I forgot sunscreen.
I'm gonna.
Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna have to borrow some of his sunscreen.
bag.
So thanks everybody for tuning in. So he's got the Gators, I got the Canes. 3:30 p.m. We're gonna keep you covered right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.